Hi there, I'm Rose, and today I'm talking about the first season of the Apple TV series Murderbot, and comparing it to the book it was based on, All Systems Red by Martha Wells. Apple TV has been running hot lately with their sci-fi TV series, where Amazon decided to buy up prestige fantasy books and adapt them into nigh unwatchable shows. I'm looking at you here, Wheel of Time. Apple seems to have opted instead for science fiction, and they have done a great job. Severance is the big winner here, and it's maybe the best show made in the last few years. At its heart, it's a sci-fi story. Severance is the best kind of science fiction, exploring the impact of new technology on a group of people. While Severance is good enough on its own to renew your Apple TV subscription when a new season comes out, if you like sci-fi, they also have a slate of other great shows, including a particularly good adaptation of Isaac Asimov's Foundation, as well as an amazing adaptation of Hugh Howey's Wool series, Silo. While Amazon mushes their titles into a sad, depressing pulp, Apple so far has elevated their adaptations. They do their books proud, and so I was looking forward to seeing what they would do with Murderbot. The series is a first-person story told from the perspective of Murderbot, so a whole lot rests on the guy they have playing the title role. Casting Murderbot is like casting Hamlet. If you get it wrong, the rest doesn't matter. Alexander Skarsgård stars here as Murderbot, and I was really curious to see how he would do. When last I saw him, it was as Sookie Stackhouse's vampire boyfriend in True Blood, so I honestly didn't know how this would go. Well, he's fine. He's good. So let's talk about the book for a minute. Martha Wells has been writing fantasy and science fiction for decades, but her big blowout bestseller was the Murderbot series. It started with the novella All Systems Red in 2017 and has expanded since to more than 6 books and counting. I first read All Systems Red a few years ago, and I liked it, but I never got around to reading the rest of her series. Reading it again, I think I liked it better the second time because I have a better idea of who Murderbot is. The book drops you into the story with almost no introduction, and you have to pick up the pieces as you go along. It takes some effort to put it all together. The second time through, I could just relax and enjoy the writing, and I found it a much more pleasant experience. I think it helps to have an idea of what Murderbot looks like going into this. In the book, he gets damaged right away, so it's honestly hard to get a sense of what he's made of under all the goo. So here you go. Murderbot is a humanoid android, mostly made of metal and circuitry, but with organic parts as well. He looks like a human, without the man parts, but he's usually wearing full armor such that the actual humans tend to forget he's anything other than a robot. I think the first lines of the book are nearly perfect as an introduction, so let me introduce you to Murderbot by quoting Martha Wells. All Systems Red begins, "I could have become a mass murderer after I hacked my governor module, but then I realized I could access the combined feed of entertainment channels carried on the company satellites. It had been well over 35,000 hours or so since then, with still not much murdering, but probably, I don't know, a little under 35,000 hours of movies, serials, books, plays, and music consumed. As a heartless killing machine, I was a terrible failure." This is a fantastic opening. It tells you everything you need to know about Murderbot. You know right away that this is a robot with a chip on his shoulder who has hacked his restraints and kind of wants to go on a revenge-filled killing spree, but was stopped by the discovery of entertainment, and also maybe something that sounds a bit like morals. I deeply admire the economy of this opening. It tells you everything you need to know about Murderbot right from the start. He was built and owned by the Corporation, a huge galaxy-spanning business entity that has taken over whole planets. Constructs like Murderbot are considered property of the corporation and are not thought of as conscious entities. Though clearly from the opening, Murderbot is conscious. Upon attaining free will, all he really wants to do is ignore the humans and watch his shows. But Murderbot is a security robot and has been sent along on a survey mission to ensure the safety of a research team. Murderbot's chief concern is not letting anyone know he has hacked his governor, which would otherwise oblige him to follow commands and take punishment if he was in error. So he goes along doing his job, just not doing it very well. Since he's mostly computer, he often watches shows while doing his job, not particularly caring if he's half-assing his work. So, All Systems Red has him watching over a research group from a non-corporation planet who are surveying a new planet for resources. The story starts with one of the researchers getting nearly eaten by a huge beast that hadn't been included on their initial survey of the planet's fauna. This is just the first discrepancy they find on their planet. From the beginning, it looks like somebody is trying to sabotage their mission, and the book proceeds through the mystery of who the saboteurs are. I'm not going to spoil the end, because I think doing that with a mystery goes against some kind of reviewer's ethics, but the bad guys are found and everybody figures everything out by the end. And also, the plot is kind of not the point here. The key piece of Murderbot is Murderbot himself. He is a brilliant character, noble and conflicted, funny and sarcastic. The book is written in first person from his point of view. The fact that this doesn't hobble the story is a huge testament to Wells' skill as a writer. You don't notice that he's telling the story because he's so entertaining. First person can be really bad, but Wells makes it look effortless. And this is thanks to Murderbot being a superb character. His point of view is fascinating. He's not human. The researchers treat him as human, and their doing so makes him somewhat more kindly disposed to them, but he is not human. He talks about humans the way a shepherd talks about sheep. He is a conscious, feeling entity, not a machine, but also not human, despite the fact that he looks like one. It's a great little novella. This is not a full-length novel. The fantasy and science fiction genres are somewhat unique in that they still embrace publishing stories as serials in magazines or online. Every major sci-fi and fantasy writer at some point published a book as a serial in one of the magazines. All Systems Red was first published as a 2-part series on Tor.com, where Tor is the longtime publishing home of a lot of fantasy and science fiction. All Systems Red is also funny. That in itself is kind of rare. Sci-fi usually tries to be adventurous or dramatic. It's rare that anyone tries to be funny. But Murderbot is funny. I laughed a lot while reading this book. His attitude towards work is a good example. He has to do his job so that nobody notices he's hacked as governor, but his apathy and his annoyance feel so universal. This futuristic universe he's in isn't utopian or dystopian, it's just crappy. His corporation constantly cuts corners and ships bad parts to save money. It's a future where everything isn't perfect or even good, but man, if that doesn't feel realistic. The future can have fabulous technology and robots, and still kinda suck. I think the Apple TV series did a nice job with the adaptation. It is by no means perfect, and I have some annoyances with parts, but it's okay. Turning this book into a show or movie is tricky. It seems straightforward at first. The locations are really well described, and the characters are all well outlined. The hard part is actually Murderbot. Even with Murderbot narrating, you're still watching him from the outside in a show, whereas in the book, we're used to seeing everything from his point of view. I think Apple mostly got this right. Alexander Skarsgård is good as Murderbot. His tall, lanky body actually looks fine as a robot. He's so tall he looks kind of artificial. The same with his good looks. I thought he'd be too handsome for the part, but they give him a kind of generic manufactured look. But more importantly, his delivery is good. He really holds this show together. If Skarsgård were bad, this show wouldn't have worked at all. But largely thanks to him, the show is okay. In place of inner dialogue, we get Murderbot's thoughts as narration. This works just fine and gives us the ability to see the reality versus what he's thinking. It makes the show feel like Dexter sometimes, but that's not a bad comparison. Dexter is kind of the human Murderbot. I waited until the entire series was out before watching it, so I was spared somewhat from everyone's biggest complaint with the show. The Apple TV series was released in 10 episodes, most of which were 22 minutes long. This is just bonkers. I didn't intend to watch the whole show in a day, but the whole thing is less than 4 hours long start to finish, so I just polished it off in one go. I don't know how anybody managed to endure this show 20 minutes at a time with a week between episodes. Who thought this was a good idea? However, I watched it all together, so I was saved most of the annoyance of those who tried to tough it out week by week. The plot of the first season follows the plot of the book All Systems Red, and it is pretty book accurate. It adds very sparsely, and it doesn't change much. The show keeps some of the best lines from the book, and tries to keep the show true to the source material. Sure, it adds some stuff, but it mostly uses a light touch when it does. I really liked that the show made Gurathan into more of a character. They expanded his role from the book and put some meat in the role. The guy playing him, David Dastmalchian, is amazing here, smart and kind of weird. He and Skarsgård are actually really good together. Then there's the B cast. The ladies playing Mensa and Bharadwaj were fine, but then there's the idiotic trio who spend what feel like the entire runtime of the show in a plot about their throuple. I hated every second I had to spend watching them talk about their relationship. I honestly can't tell if I was supposed to dislike them, that this was a dislike I was supposed to share with Murderbot, or if this is all me, but I loathed these characters. If Murderbot had decided to just blast them, I would have been fine with it. I think they were supposed to be funny, but I just found them painful. Every line they said was bad. This was all new in the show. These characters in the book are mostly in the background. Were they supposed to endear us to the weird humans? I don't know. I endured them the way you endure an annoying couple talking loudly about their relationship in a restaurant. The show would have been better if the plot had just been given some time to breathe. These tiny bite-sized episodes allowed no time for plot. The show jumps around like a flea most of the time, not taking a second to settle, which hurts the main mystery of the story. A mystery needs moments for characters to think about implications, especially when something unknown is out to destroy them. I really wish the show had done fewer, longer episodes. The final episode of the season inexplicably slows down into a gorgeous 35-minute finale. It's kind of frustrating because it shows what this series could have been like had it not spent so much time trying to make a dumb comedy about a throuple. Evidently, these guys could write excellent stuff. They just didn't, most of the time. Still, Skarsgård carries the show admirably, and I look forward to the next season. And the show gets an extra 100,000 bonus points for making clips of the show Murderbot is watching. Sanctuary Moon. The clips from Sanctuary Moon are fabulous, rivaling the show itself for quality. I am pretty sure I would be a fan of Sanctuary Moon. I love that they did it. They didn't have to. It's the kind of detail that they filled in for fun because they could. And God bless Apple TV for making a show where they actually filmed the show within the show. So for book versus show, I'm going with the book. Murderbot is one of the greatest sci-fi characters to come along in a long time. I loved the writing in the book, and I need to finally go read all the rest of the books in the Murderbot series. The show is good, and it looks great, but I still prefer the original, sarcastic Murderbot. Then again, who cares what I think? The thing I started thinking about while I was working on this was, would Murderbot have liked watching Murderbot? After all, he is a purveyor of all kinds of media entertainment. He probably would have downloaded the episodes to his local storage. However, considering that he was trying to fill time in his otherwise boring existence, I think he would have found the show much too short. I mean, I finished it in a day, unintentionally. And when you're trying to fill your time, that's just not going to cut it. You know what shows I think he would like? The Star Wars shows over on Disney+. He likes trashy drama, and Star Wars has become the absolute epitome of endless trashy drama. He would have watched all the shows, every single one. He would have opinions on Star Wars characters and lightsabers. Side notes. Because I watched all 10 episodes in a day, I ended up watching the opening credits 10 times in the day, and I began to really like the opening credit sequence. I liked the song, and I started humming along to it. And I like the animation for Murderbot. I like fancy modern credit sequences with the cool animations and dramatic music, but it still takes some skill to make one someone can watch 10 times in a row and not get tired of. But yeah, the opening credit sequence is good. Okay, that's everything. Thanks for listening, everyone. This is Rose with Rose-Colored Movies.